So earlier I spoke with Kellyanne Conway, counselor to the president, about this solidarity sign between the president and the Senate Majority Leader and asked what the goal was of today's meeting.
Well, the goal is to move forward on the president's agenda on tax reform, immigration reform, the wall, certainly health care, infrastructure, probably next year. And I think one of the uncovered points of both what the president said today and Leader McConnell said today is the unnecessary and dangerous partisan obstruction of the president's nominees before the Senate. We have historic blockage, unnecessary cloture votes. The deputy secretary at HHS, it took 181 days for him to be confirmed. For what reason? He's now the acting secretary. 6 of the 7 DOD folks at the Pentagon have been ready since the summer for confirmation. And this is just historic. 65% of President Obama's nominees had gone through by now.
Right.
President Trump has 39%.
No, it's a great point. I mean, I think when people do dig into that story and they see what's happening and they see the hours of debate where people are talking about, what they did over the weekend, just so that they can keep pushing this hours and hours down the road, I think it's frustrating, and I think it clogs things really on both sides ultimately. But I do want to ask you about Steve Bannon, because, when you have Steve Bannon saying that it's a litmus test for anyone that he wants to help recruit and back to run against sitting Republicans, for them to raise their hand or step up to the mic, as he put it over the weekend, and say, I will vote against Mitch McConnell. And then you have the president saying, I understand, Steve, we know each other well, we get along well, and I know he thinks he's doing the right thing, and he's standing next to Mitch McConnell while he's saying it.
Well, the president also said that in some cases he's working well with some of the senators that are up for 2018, and that he understands that some should do their jobs. He didn't name names necessarily. I know Steve is naming names. And the president also made remarks at the cabinet meeting today about this very topic. And he said he understands where Steve Bannon is coming from and that he shares his frustration that Steve is helping the president's agenda go forward. I think those who are trying to cover this as some kind of internecine war within the Republican Party are missing the essential point, which is that on major policy issues, Steve Bannon and Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell are all in agreement to cut taxes, to get these to get these judicial and other nominees. I
don't think Steve Bannon would agree with that, Kellyanne. He clearly called for his ouster, and he said anybody who runs against them has to basically make a promise that they're going to push him out.
That's up to the Senate members who their leader is. And we saw this many times, by the way, in the House of Representatives, where people who are sitting there in Congress right now, Martha, ran promising to vote for new leadership, and when they got the chance, changed their mind. So that's what happens. But look, the fact is that you've got a majority party here in the Republicans, and you saw today the majority leader saying that I talk to the president more frequently than you realize. We don't give you a readout of every single conversation, but we're moving forward to pass historic tax reform. This tax reform is necessary. It's a middle-class tax cut that'll make us more competitive.
I think a lot of people who voted for Republicans in the last election are going to feel, that's exactly what they want to hear. They want to see these folks on the same page, and they want to see health care get done. They want to see tax reform get done. But before I let you go, I want to ask you about this, because the president was asked about Tom Marino today, his pick to be the drug czar, Republican from Pennsylvania, who got some very bad press over the weekend for his involvement in something that is seen to be a negative in terms of fixing the war against opioids. Here's the president. Here's what he said about it today.
Well, he's a good man. I have not spoken to him, but I will speak to him, and I'll make that determination. And if I think it's 1% negative to doing what we want to do, I will make a change.
So he says he is open to dropping him.
Well, the key of what the president said is that he's so committed to this issue that he's going to make sure that he has all the right players in place to help combat, which is truly a national epidemic. The president has promised to declare a national health emergency. He said that he is putting his full force and effect behind this. I traveled last Tuesday, with the First Lady to West Virginia, where she saw the first of its kind in our nation, a center, Lily's Place, it's called, Martha, where they take in newborns who are addicted. And you've got the president and the First Lady now giving support to this issue in a very important way. Look, 64,000 people last year died of a drug overdose.
Absolutely.
Many of them through opioids. And opioids is so different, let me just tell your viewers, because, it starts in mom or dad's medicine cabinet, and that bottle has your local pharmacy and your family doctor often on the label, so people are tricked into believing it's helping someone. This is a president committed to that, and he will put the right people in place.
All right. All right. We're going to talk to Joe Manchin about that a little bit later, so stick around. We've got a whole segment coming up on that. Kellyanne, thank you so much. Good to see you tonight.
Thank you, Martha. Always a pleasure.